When I shared my curriculum picks for the coming school year, I had a couple of you guys ask me to see how I schedule things. So that's what this video today is going to be all about. I'm going to do kind of a two-part video series. Today is going to be all about my yearly schedule, how I break things down by week for the whole year and kind of plan all my curriculum out into the year. And then my next video is going to be about my week and how I break things down even further and schedule out our days, kind of an overview of a week and how I would lay all our curriculum out within a week. So let's get started. Hi and welcome. Thanks for joining me. If you are new, I am Homeschooling Mom 23. This coming year, I'm going to have a first grader, a kindergartner, and then we will have a toddler who I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate into our days a little bit, but haven't quite gotten there. Today, we're talking scheduling. So this is going to kind of be an overview of how I schedule our whole year out. I want to take you over to my computer in a minute. I'm going to show you my schedule and kind of walk you through everything on it. Should, for the most part, reflect my curriculum picks. If you haven't seen that, I will link those below if you're interested in seeing kind of all of our picks individually, because sometimes on a schedule, it can be kind of hard to envision everything together. But if you have already seen that, then you'll kind of know what we're already doing. And this will just be showing you how we have laid out our year. So my schedule, and I will show you an up close on my computer in a minute, looks something like this. This would be one term front side, and backside will be one term or quarter. We do four, quarters. So I have written term, but I guess technically quarter. We do 4 quarters. So this would be 1 quarter's worth of scheduling, weeks 1 through 8. Both our sides are 1 through 8. One side is my more family subject layout, and then the other side is going to be more of the individual subjects. I really, really like this format of laying it out. I normally actually print this and paste this directly into my planner, and I plan to do that. But this layout, I actually saw, I think, Mary Barfield, who stole Ambleside Online. They give you a free downloadable, editable copy of Ambleside Online, gives you their schedule, and you can download it as PDF or as an editable copy. And so I saw that she did that, and I really liked the layout. So I did the same thing. I took their editable copy and I downloaded it and customized it for myself. So normally their copy would be kind of like this. Mine fit better like this. But that's where I kind of got this rough template. So you can always go over there and grab that from them. And I just really like the way it's laid out a week. I don't normally paste these front to back. I normally do 2 half sides and paste them into my planner open so I can see the whole 8-week layout together. Okay, but what I want to do essentially is I'm going to show you my computer screen and I'm going to kind of show you how things are broken down. I use a lot of abbreviations, so I'll walk you through what actually everything is because that can be hard to understand if you don't know. And you can kind of get an idea of how we have the year scheduled out, how many weeks, about how much I'm doing per week in each subject. And maybe it'll be helpful for you to get an idea of how you guys want to organize your year. I would be interested in knowing, actually, though, before I do that, how many of you guys actually schedule out your year in advance? And how many of you guys like to kind of just wing it or like to just kind of do the next thing but don't like actually schedule out? I'd be curious to see kind of what the ratio is. And if you've pulled any particular tricks for planning your coming year that you could share with us, because I'm always up for learning something new. Okay, but with that said, let's let you see my schedule. I will zoom in closer so that you can kind of see a little bit better in just a second. But first, I want to point out 2 things. You'll note here we have some kind of grade in subjects along the side. These are subjects that I really want to focus in on narration and honing that skill with my daughter, things that I want to use that tool to help them remember and retain. So I've kind of just graded them in so that I can remember quickly and easily, oh yeah, I want to be practicing narration with these things. And then you'll see I have this dark border around some subjects. These are the things that I have marked as my least important things, the things that are just not my biggest priority. And if I've overscheduled, if we have too much going and I just can't juggle everything I wanted to do, these are the things that I've marked to drop. It just helps me to remember that while I want to do everything, I can't, and I need to know what my priorities are. So I just kind of did that in advance so that it'll help me just feel less bad as I drop things, honestly, if I know that I have them marked to be able to drop if we need to. So that's kind of why those are formatted the way they are. Okay, so to zoom in for you so you can kind of get closer up and see better. Journey Academy is the name of our homeschool. I have the school year marked, and then I have term 1, weeks 1 through 8. Technically, I probably should call this a quarter because we do have 4 quarters, but this is where we're leaving it. And my quarters are generally between 8 to 10 weeks, just depending on where I needed our break to land for like holidays or travel or whatever. Along the top, I have our weeks 1 through 8 and the dates. Now, the dates I really actually like having in here, even though it's kind of a pain to put them in, because it allows me to know when I'm ahead or behind. I'm in relation not just to what week I'm ahead or behind, but like, am I ahead of the like in relation to where I wanted to be in September or where I wanted to be in October, or by Christmas time. It just gives me a better visual, better understanding of where we are in our year. Okay, then down on the side we have the subjects that we are, and this like top chunk is kind of our family subjects that we do throughout the week. Then we have our family subjects that only occur like once a week, and our enrichment tea time rotation. So what we're going to be doing different weeks for that. And then our next page, which is still the same weeks 1 through 8, we have more of our individual subjects. So math, and then for each of my children, logic for each of my children, and we have those down. And then at the bottom, I have some read aloud ideas for this quarter, which ones I kind of want to fit in where, and then some independent reading options, things that I'm not stuck on my daughter reading these, but for her first grade, they're kind of ideas for me if I run out of ideas. Okay, so let's go back up and we'll kind of just walk you through this individually. I have a lot of abbreviations. I have a key that I've written to put in my planner for these abbreviations, but I also just know them at this point. I've been using them this way, and so I think of them this way. All right, so this is going to, well, it won't entirely reflect my weekly schedule the way I break it down, but anyhow, we start with our Bible time in the morning. I read a Bible story. This is the Bible story that I'm going to be using. And then here I just mark it that we do this 5 times a week. We do this every morning. And so I'm not going to schedule this out because this is not a curriculum and it's something that we're just going to do every single day. So it doesn't matter. So I just put a little dash here to signify that we just do the same thing that I marked in the beginning every day. We work on our memory verses 5 times a week. So again, just putting a dash. Now, in this BOTR, this is Building on the Rock, level 1. This is our Bible and Worldview curriculum. This first chunk is empty. It doesn't even have a dash in it. That means we're not actually doing it. If it's completely empty, we just aren't doing it. And that is because I like to start our school year off a little gentler. So you'll notice that especially in this week 1, there will be several things that are empty because I don't want to jump in with everything at once. And we're actually going to start lesson 1 here. Now, lesson 1 has 4 days within each lesson. So week 2 would just be 1 lesson. So that is Building on the Rock. We're just going to kind of keep working through that. History, we have Story of Civilization, week 1. Now, this is the one that I've actually done my own manual for and kind of rough. I put in Child's History of the World in here, even though I didn't have to because that's in my teacher's manual. But I just kind of wanted it here for reference as well. If you're interested in seeing inside, actually, I did do my own teacher's manual or guide or whatever you want to call it for our history. So you can check that video. I'll link it below. But this is kind of the week we're going to be doing and the corresponding chapter if we want to do it in Child's History of the World. And what week that would line up to. And then if we're going to do map work or an encyclopedia, I just have that as 1 time a week. We'll just kind of do our map work. We'll look in the encyclopedias and that'll just kind of be the same throughout. Science, we're doing 1 week per week. Essentially, our science is laid out in what is called weeks. So that actually makes it super simple. And then our nature walk, I want to do 1 time on the weekend. And what I actually don't have written in here is we're also going to do there's some nature books that will go in here as well, but we'll just do those when they fit in. And since we're just doing 1 time a week, I just kind of filled it in as such. So art, this one is probably the first one to go, honestly, of everything. I'm just not sure about this. I might. This is kind of a maybe, I guess. But if we do, we'll just do it 1 time a week. Then we have our literature, and these are the books that we're using for our literature this year. And I've just marked that we're going to do an Aesop's Fable 3 times a week and a Tale of Uncle Remus. Both of these are really short, 1 time a week. So every day we'll be doing one or the other of these. And then along with that, we'll be doing the occasional story when it lines up. You see, I don't have it here every week, but where they fit in, we'll be doing those. Okay, I want to do some sort of safety, emotional health, hygiene book, something like that once a week, picture book with my kids. So we'll just do that. Connoisseur Kids is our etiquette, and I'm going to do that on the weekend because my husband requested that he be able to do that with us. So we'll just work on etiquette once during the weekend with my kids. And then this section here is my enrichment tea time section. So each week we're going to do one of 3 things. We're either going to do a composer study, or we're going to do hymn study, or we're going to do poetry. And I've written in kind of what I want to do within that. I don't have specific poems lined up. I'll find a poem anthology that I like. I might use Ambleside Online Anthology. I'm not sure on that, or I'll just find a book I like. For this, I just have a section because we'll just go through a chunk to where I feel like is appropriate out of this first classical music book. Um, and I did have in here that I was going to do picture study in this rotation as well. I decided not to because my nature walk curriculum that I picked up actually has a picture study within it. So we'll just do that within our nature walk and consider that our picture study. So this is how I have it laid out for our family subjects for the whole first quarter. And then to individual subjects, the way I lay it out here is I have what we're doing math, and then this should not have question marks, but oh well, I'll have to fix that. This first one is going to be my kindergartner, and the second one is going to be my first grader. So we have Math with Confidence 1 and Math with Confidence 2. We're not going to start week 1. We're going to pick it up in week 2. So this is kind of where they'll be on that rotation. Logic is building thinking skills primary for my, well, I actually have these reversed. I need to do the other order. Primary for my first grader and beginning 2 for my kindergartner. And this is the page numbers that I want to complete within each week for each of those. For geography, we're going to do 180 days of geography, kindergarten and first grade, and those are set out by week, so that's real simple. And then this is just signifying that I want to work on this book or this part of this book over the whole term. This is Charlotte Mason's geography. I want to work on Our World Part 1 and then C.C. Long's geography position. And we'll just do that kind of over the term together. All right, and then in phonics, this is really only for my kindergartner, and so we just have her, but we're going to be working on Logic of English B. I didn't section out how much because we're really taking at her pace. We're just going to do it every week consistently. For reading, this is my first grader. She's going to be working on Wise Owl Polysyllables, McGuffey Reader, and Explode the Code. That's what and then this Christian Liberty Nature Reader. These are kind of the components for her reading. So for Wise Owl Polysyllable, I want to do that 3 times a week, and I want to go back and forth between that and the McGuffey Reader. We're going to do one or the other each day. Explode the Code. I have this listed at 4 times a week. I think I'm going to drop this to just 2 times a week, though. And you can see we're not starting on the first week. And then the Christian Liberty Press 2 times a week. She's going to read this to herself and then come and tell me about what she read. All of those are very quick. None of these take much time. And then for grammar, first language lessons 1 and 2 with my respective daughters. We're not going to do this the first week. We're going to pick up and just do 3 lessons a week for each of them. And then writing. This is IEW with my kindergartner. And basically, we're not going to start the first 2 weeks, and then we're going to start really gently. If you're familiar with IEW, this will make more sense. But we're going to start by learning what they teach us in Unit 1, practice that for 2 weeks, and then they really encourage using Unit 1 and 2 together, not waiting until they understand Unit 1 to move on to Unit 2, because they just work side by side. So we're going to move into Unit 2, and then we're going to practice these 2 skills within Unit 2. And we're just going to kind of continue practicing the same skills. We're not going to add anything after that for a while. Okay, spelling. This is with my first grader. We have this by sort. This is not a traditional spelling curriculum, and so it's not laid out by week. It's laid out by word sort, where they learn a group of words and sort through them and work with them. So I basically have close to 1 sort a week with some extra weeks for review mixed in. Handwriting practice made fun. We're going to be doing that twice a week for each of my daughters. Hoffman Academy. My goal is to have them do maybe 2 lessons a week with lots of practice in between. And so you can see how that's laid out. And then down here, we just have some read alouds that I've, picked aside and some potential first grade independent reading choices. So that is how I have it laid out. My following terms are really laid out the same. I don't think I have a lot of additional material that I've added into these. I have this in blue because I don't know exactly when we'll hit Logic of English C. I'm guessing it's somewhere around here, but I'm not exactly sure. So that's kind of a reminder to myself that's kind of where I think we'll be, but I may not have that. The one thing I do add into term 3 is along with our history, I'm going to start adding in 50 famous stories somewhere around here. I think I have it starting on week 27, so this is all grayed out because it's not applying until here. So I did add that in there. Otherwise, I'm trying to think if I've added anything else in down the road. Again, I just don't know if we'll be in C, and with Explode the Code, I don't know if we'll still be in book 4, so I kind of has those marked to just pay attention to. I just continue. And then with my last term, so this is the end of our school year, basically I start graying things out as we end. So I schedule out to 38 weeks, but really around 36, a lot of our stuff starts dropping. And so I mark where we're done. So with Building on the Rock, we finish at week 34. We don't have any more. Um, with our science, we finish at week 36. And so it gives me a good visual to know, like, we should be ending around here, or like our school load starts lightening up around this point. And by week 37 and 38, we're really just wrapping up the last few things. Those aren't full school weeks. They're pretty light. And so it just gives me a good visual on that. And then I have a rough layout, and I probably need to update this. So sorry, I'm not sure if this quite reflects my weekly schedule, but of kind of what days I want to do what. This looks like a lot because I've written in every little detail. It's not as much as it looks like. Um, and then at the very bottom, I have my abbreviation key. So everything that I've abbreviated within my schedule, I kind of have written out here. So if I ever get confused or like, I forgot what this is, I can have it down here. Or if somebody's looking at it and wants to see it, they kind of have this for reference. So that's kind of how I lay out my curriculum for the year. I have it planned out as I use this in my homeschool planner. 'Cause I do print this out and paste it within my homeschool planner. When we've completed something, I highlight it so that I have a good visual of what we've completed. If we're ahead in a certain subject, if we're behind in a certain subject, I can just see it real easily. And I highlight each week with a different color, um, because it just helps me have a good visual of what week we did what. Like if we're ahead, I can see that this color over here matches with this week here. And so it just kind of helps me without having to think too hard to see where we're at. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful for you. I've had fun putting this together. And to be honest, I've been not just putting this together this last week. This has been something I've been doing over the last couple months. As the school year tapers off, I start planning for the next one. Well, that might be an under exaggeration. As we begin the school year, I'll probably begin planning for next school year. I am such an over planner and things change a lot because of that. But I think I've got this pretty well cemented where I want it, and I'm excited to begin using it and to begin checking things off. To be honest, who doesn't love a checklist? And that's kind of I use this as a little bit of a checklist, and it uh, it leaves me feeling it's a great accomplishment to see rows of weeks checked off and then easy to count down to our breaks. So I really like that. I would love to know any tips or tricks you guys have for planning, anything you love or hate in planning. I love the planning part of things. That's like my fun spot, my happy place. But I know not all of you do. So um, yeah, keep your eyes open because next week I will be walking you through our weekly plan. Take one of these weeks that I've shown you here and dive more deeply into it and show you how I'm going to lay it out for each day. So if you're interested in that, keep your eyes open.